Back to the senatorial race, we have Dr. Paul Broun, who is also running. Many of you know Dr. Broun, of course. He's a family practitioner. He lives in Oconee County, Watkinsville. And, of course, he still sees patients. He's a practicing physician. Now, most of his practice is now with the Navy Reserve. Last year, he was even deployed to Afghanistan. So, sir, we appreciate your service. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Paul Broun.
When I was sworn into the U.S. Marine Corps, when I was sworn into the U.S. House of Representatives, I swore to uphold the Constitution and defend it against enemies, both foreign and domestic. I take that oath very seriously. Friends, out-of-control spending has become our nation's enemy. In fact, Admiral Mike Mullen, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said that our nation's debt is the greatest threat to our national security that we have in our country today. As a U.S. Congressman, I've been fighting the out-of-control spending. It must stop, and both parties are guilty. And I'll pledge to you, as your U.S. Senator, we will fight to defeat that enemy of this country. In fact, in 2007, I went to Washington to stand against the out-of-control spending. And though it's often been a very lonely fight, it's been a very necessary one. You see, America is speeding towards an economic meltdown as a nation. But the liberals and big government politicians in Washington continue to spend more of your money while amassing more power for themselves. You see, more money in Washington means more power and control in Washington, while it means less money in your pocket and less control over your own lives. And mind you, this senseless behavior has been exhibited by both parties. This irresponsible spending is crushing our economy today. It is saddling generations to come with crippling debt, and it is destroying jobs. Each American's share of the national debt today is over $53,000 a person. And that number has been increased by 50% just in the last 4 years. Friends, we must have someone in the Senate who will stop this madness, who will work to stop shaking down taxpayers to continue to fund this never satisfied spending addiction in Washington. Georgia needs a senator who will stand to stop that irresponsible spending, and I am that leader. And my record is clear. I've never voted for a bailout. I've never requested an earmark. I've never voted for a stimulus package. I've never voted to increase the debt ceiling. And I've never voted for a tax increase. In fact, I believe if 10% is good enough for the Lord, it ought to be good enough for Uncle Sam. And you see, I'll be the only candidate in this race whose first priority is to stop the out-of-control spending in Washington. Let me give you some examples of spending cuts that I'm proposing. Right now today, we're spending almost $70 billion of your hard-earned money on a U.S. Department of Education. The average salary is $102,000 a year for those fat cat bureaucrats who've never taught a child to read. I say, let's close down the Department of Education completely. Let's leave that money here in Georgia. Pay our teachers more. Get the government shackles off teachers so we can have a world-class education system here in Georgia. And while we're at it, let's shut down the EPA. We have to be good stewards of our environment, but we must stop wasting billions of dollars on a bureaucracy that's killing jobs and destroying our economy. Because I vote that way, the Club for Growth has recently rated me the #1 member of the U.S. House of Representatives, the whole House, as a defender of economic freedom. And I'm fighting for all your freedoms, your Second Amendment freedoms. We must never lose our Second Amendment rights. I'm the chairman of the Second Amendment Task Force. You'll hear candidates that say, I'm a conservative, I believe in the Constitution, but my record is clear. I'll be the only candidate in this race who's an original intent constitutionalist. I'll be the only candidate in this race who has the record, has the will to say no to the out-of-control spending. It must stop. And with your help and by God's grace, this is a campaign we'll win. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.